Well, we have one final guest here on the digital version of Office Hours. It's
There
really
he is.
inspiring me as I was office hour out after all the episodes for TV for Bloomberg that we're doing. And it was really great to see you in person, though. It's a whole different species, isn't it? Ted
Yes.
Oakley, founding and managing partner of Oxbow Advisors. Uh, he has almost more experience than I've been alive in a very, very important space, but as well, of course, helping so many children along the way. Talk about compassionate capitalists. This guy's an icon. We could put him on the cover of our book, Blaine. So
Yeah.
uh, I want to start with the principles, the Oxbow principles, because I think, in my life, when my wife made me take stock in who I was and create these principles that I was going to live by, my entire life changed because I had guideposts and baselines to make good decisions. Um, where over the years, Ted, have you come up with these principles, and what are they?
Well, David, thanks. Most of the principles we have really, most of the work we do is with people that have a liquidity effect. Either they sold a business, we have some athletes, or people in their second generation inherit money. And one of the things we found is they got confused on how their capital should go. And we felt like we said, you've got two kinds of capital. You need to understand protection, which is have your base capital on one side, which is basically no touchy money. I mean, it can't go anywhere. And then have on this side your investment capital. And we found a lot of people, when they come into money, they think that, and they do have a lot of money, but they forget it can go over real quickly. And we try to get them in mode where they realize, hey, there is a survival mechanism here. And that part of it is the base capital. And for somebody like myself who grew up extremely poor, okay, you learn that the hard way. But as you get more money in life, you have to do it also. You can't forget that.
Well, we all three grew up extremely poor, so I feel sorry for the rest of them.
Well, you learn a lot, and I think
You
a
do.
lot of people do. But I love success stories, and all of you and Blaine, you and Blaine and everybody else that was on. I saw earlier when he came up. It was great watching that guy too.
Yeah, Sandeep and Randy just were really bringing the lessons for everyone. Blaine, I know you circle in this space a lot in empowerment and financial principles in building people's long-term wealth. Uh, you know, you've been around a little longer than me and seen the ebbs and flows of finance through athletes and estate planning. Uh, what are some of the questions you have or things that you've seen uh, to talk about with Ted? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that,
Well,
that question is actually addressed to you, Ted. He called out my name,
Oh
but
no,
it's
no,
you.
I meant yeah, no, for you, Blaine.
Oh,
I
oh,
think after doing like 100 episodes of Office Hours this week, I've lost my touch.
yeah, no worries, no worries. Uh, yeah, the money's energy. I mean, David and I both kind of play with that concept a lot, and that's been my experience. It ebbs and flows just like any other form of energy, and its utility is in what I can actually do with it and what I can actually create with it. So with specifically with the athletes, young guys or young women that come into all of a sudden a boatload of money. That's what it seems like to them. It's a boatload of money. How do you work with them? And I know the Oxbow principles actually come into play with this, but how do you actually work with them from a mindset perspective so that they can begin to integrate in the way that they actually live? The fact that money is a vehicle to good, and it's not intended for accumulation necessarily. We've got our base, but it's not necessarily intended for accumulations. It's intended for distribution. And so how do you actually get that concept of generative distribution in place with them?
What we do, Blaine, is I really got that from helping foster kids over the last 25 years. And a lot of the athletes we've helped, they came from similar circumstances a lot of times. And what I try to do, the very best I try to do is say, look, I want you to trust me. I know there's been not a lot of people in your life you could trust, but I want to show you some things here, and I'll show examples to them of how you change somebody else's life. And I try to and I've got examples, and I show them examples and say, look, if you really want to have a legacy, look, you're a great ball player, a great athlete. But look, you know what? 20 years from now, 50 years from now, they won't even know what your name is. And so you want to leave a legacy, a living legacy that will help people. And you can take, we've had some really large contracts we've talked to people about. Sometimes we don't get the business, but what I try to tell them is, look, that legacy part is very important, because I said, there's not many things you can leave passing through this world, but you can leave that. You can change somebody's life. And if you change somebody's life, believe me, man and woman, you're changing the world.
Yeah, we used to have that exact conversation, with all of our athletes at Lee Steinberg. We require them to give back, have a purpose or a cause to give back, to understand what legacy was. We also, I remember Warren Moon, my business partner, I was with Cameron Newton, and he had signed his 23 million guaranteed when he was drafted. And he said, Mr. Meltzer, what would you do? And I said, look, you should put half of them into annuities, or I put half of it into annuities or IULs, a guaranteed return for the rest of your life, with a tax benefit and the ability to leverage it and borrow against it and create a margin there and hedge that interest. And he said, why half? I said, because when you lose the other half doing what everybody else tells you to do, you're going to be thanking Mr. Meltzer when you're 30 years old, instead of bankrupt like 75% of the NFL stars that we've had, that don't create foundations, don't create legacies, and don't create a guarantee annuity. I wanted to finish up by asking about your legacy. I know you have built a multi-million-dollar company. More importantly, you've made billions of dollars for other people with the Oxbow principles. But most important to me, you have Foster Angels of South Texas, where you have placed over 33,000 foster kids in Central Texas in homes. This is what I call planting seeds under trees that you may never sit under, a legacy, an impact that can be incalculable. And why is it so important to you to place foster kids, and what legacy do you want to leave?
Well, David, foster children are the children that are forgotten. We talk, and believe me, I have a heart for this too, but we have talked about migrant children and children of various sorts, but we forget about foster children, because they're wards of the state. And basically, I founded the two largest foster child foundations in Texas, but we just started another one this month, matter of fact, called Advocates for Foster Children. But the reason it meant a lot to me is I wouldn't say I was unloved as a child, but I was certainly neglected as a child, and not anything to the extent of foster children. And my heart goes out to all of them. I've been around them. I started working with them about 27 or 28 years ago. And my heart goes out to them, because they're forgotten. And if you can't, out of sight, out of mind. And I think our motto for that is change their thinking, change their life. And that's what we try our very best to do at Foster Angels.
Well, you're doing an extraordinary job. You are a compassionate capitalist. We certainly are just honored that you are here. Thank you for all you do for the rich and the poor. It's an important thing to do, because the rich also give to the poor. If we can keep their money as well and inspire them to give back, as you have to so many throughout your amazing career. Thank you for the legacy, your living legacy that you have. Ted Oakley, managing partner at Oxbow Advisors, oxbowadvisors.com. We posted it right up there. Ted, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ted. Love talking with you. Love your work.
Thanks.
Keep it up.